What is up, Steelers Nation? Thank you so much for jumping on to another episode of All Steelers Talk. I'm Noah Strackbine, joined always by my main man, Jacob Punturi. Find us on youtube.com/All Steelers Talk. Check us out anywhere you get your podcast. The Pittsburgh Steelers, very interesting times as they may be looking at a new quarterback. We're diving into that. A linebacker that could come to the Pittsburgh Steelers, and then a linebacker who could be leaving the Pittsburgh Steelers. Exciting times. It's a pretty mild one out here in the Berg. We are good. I just got, nobody cares about my personal life, but I have to ask. I just got my wife's car back from the shop. It was in the shop for one whole month. I was driving around on a dealer car or whatever. What in your mind is the appropriate amount of miles I should have put on this car? Because I think I smoked it. And how are you, my friend?
I'm doing good. Olympic hockey is in full swing, so I'm kind of in my element. You had a loaner for a month.
1 month. It was just under a month, 3.5 weeks or something. It would have been 3 full weeks on Friday, 4 weeks on Friday.
I would say maybe 250 miles. I think would be like
250 miles.
What'd you put on it?
This car came with 300 and some miles. Brand new car is beautiful. I handed that thing back. It was at just over 1,800 miles. Over 1,800 miles.
You used it like a daily driver. You know what I mean? Like most warranties anticipate you doing what, like 10 to 15,000 miles a year? I think you would have been right on pace there, brother.
Right on pace. I went 1,500 miles. I went everywhere. If we needed to go to the grocery store, I was on it. If cats needed to go somewhere, I was on it. If we needed to take something somewhere, I was on it. You're telling me I don't have to pay for gas for a full tank? It's getting used, my friend. All highway, all the time. Shout out to BMW, dude. Hope they're enjoying that one. Selling it for a little cheaper after me. Let's talk some Pittsburgh Steelers football here. Malik Willis is the new name to watch for the Pittsburgh Steelers. According to Jason La Canfora, the Steelers are a name that are expected to have interest in the free agent quarterback, the former Green Bay Packers quarterback, a guy who one time was supposed to end up in Pittsburgh because Mike Tomlin met his parents at the Senior Bowl, and I stood there behind a pole going, you seeing this, guys? You seeing this? That's the first round pick. I was wrong. The world was wrong. Art Rooney made the decision that Kenny Pickett was going to be the draft pick. It was not going to be Malik Willis. Now he's back. He is at the top of the free agency market. The Steelers are expected to have some interest in it. I don't think that interest works. I don't think it lasts, but I could dive into that here shortly. What are your thoughts on Malik being a guy for the Steelers?
You know, I think it makes total sense for them to be kicking tires on this player, because when you don't have a starter guaranteed at this point, you need to be in on every top available option, whether that is free agency, trade market, via the draft. The Steelers would be doing themselves a disservice if they weren't very interested and invested in trying to make a good decision. Malik Willis brings a lot to the table. He's still relatively young in terms of a quarterback. He brings athleticism. He can obviously move outside of the pocket, and he has a pretty big arm. They played things pretty safe for him when he took over for Jordan Love in those relief appearances, but still he was able to complete a high percentage of his passes while doing so. So you look at what he could do in a sort of temporary space, he seems like an ideal kind of fit. Now, how likely is it? That there's the big question, because he's the top option coming into the free agency. He's obviously going to command the highest salary of any quarterback. Do the Steelers feel it's right to allocate that much money, whether it's $15 million a season or $20 million a season, to bring him in to be their temporary guy? That's where I tend to kind of fall off, and that's where I tend to think the Steelers are going to pass on Malik Willis. But he's an exciting player. He would be an upgrade over what they currently have, and I would be totally fine if they brought him in. Oh, did we lose Noah there for a second? Oh, well, while we wait for Noah to come back, because I do not even see him below in our little thing here. So I'll just keep talking about why I think it is. Oh, he looks like he's coming back.
I'm back.
Hey.
My
Who is
laptop literally just decided it's over. Me and Jacob were talking about this before the show. Like, it did one update, and now it's like the worst laptop in the whole world. It's just, and have you noticed that my camera angle is different now? Can you tell that? What is
I
happening?
hope everyone
Shout
did.
out to
Yeah.
MacBooks. Absolute trash. All right. I was looking up, and this is when things went awry, the Malik Willis market value here, which is $35.5 million a year over 2 years. That's absolute insanity. The Steelers,
Yeah.
should not do that. I just don't think that any risk-taking team should be dishing out $35 million a year for a quarterback who has 6 starts under his belt in the NFL. Like, it's not a guy that you're taking a chance on. I get it that the NFL draft is very dry. My thought, okay, let me ask a question. What's the reasonable price tag you would spend if you were the Steelers and Aaron Rodgers was not in the picture and Will Howard was not in the picture? If you said option A is to go to free agency, what is the amount of money you would spend if you were the Steelers?
And this is the only, I think you would have to be willing to do like the Justin Fields deal, right? You'd have to do 2 years, 40 million, and you'd have to be comfortable with that. Otherwise, I don't think you're even really in the ballpark, just because, again, like who else is out there that's going to command anything close, or who has shown anything recently? You got Daniel Jones, who's recovering from an injury. Who are you going to pivot to? I think Malik Willis has a lot of leverage to command that salary. So again, that's why I threw out that, if I was the Steelers, I would, and you wanted to come play here for $10 to $15 million for 2 years per season, then sure. Like, that seems like a great deal for a temporary fix. But if you want to give him that Justin Fields contract, I don't, is that the best use of that money when you also want to maybe go sign a starting left tackle? Maybe you want to go sign a cornerback. Maybe you want to add some wide receiver depth. They have a ton of space. I get it, but it feels lower on the priority list.
No, it has to be lower on the priority list. If you are the Pittsburgh Steelers and you are looking at let's say nobody was available, Aaron Rodgers chose to retire, Will Howard is a bust, you already know it, who cares? It's over. Imagine all of these things are right in front of you, which I'm not saying they are, just in this hypothetical. And you are saying, I have to go get a quarterback. You should not care at all about spending little money on the position, because you've spent little money on the position up until this point and have gotten very mediocre results. And you have one goal in mind, and should have one goal in mind if you are the Pittsburgh Steelers, and that is to wait this thing out and ride the wave and suffer through it as long as you need to suffer through it to find a franchise quarterback. And you are not going to do that by dishing out a boatload of money to X. It just doesn't happen. You need to be able to differentiate going after somebody with talent and making a bold move that could come back to backfire on you. Because you find a quarterback a year from now and you have Malik Willis under contract for $35 million in 2027, you're pissed and you're not going to get rid of him. That's the problem. You can't take – the Steelers are in a position where they can't take risks, essentially, at quarterback, in my eyes at least. Like, the only risk you could take if you are the Steelers that makes any sense is Will Howard. It's the only risk that you could take outside. And that's like a boring risk. Oh, the guy that we drafted, we're going to take a shot. Like, okay, sounds good. Every team ever. You can't take a risk outside of the organization. You can't go make a big splash, anything. Really, like, Mac Jones makes sense in this situation because he's less of a risk, because you wouldn't be giving up a long-term contract. You'd just be giving up a draft pick. Kyler Murray makes no sense. Tua makes negative sense. Anybody that you'd have to draft or sign in free agency for more than a 1-year deal, negative sense. Like, just at that point, it just doesn't work. So I think at the end of the day, like, it's not this year you could spend as much money as you want. Next year, you're not going to want to do that. And at the end of the day, you just can't afford to mess up. And therefore, you have to play it boringly safe if you're the Steelers. At least that's how I feel. Is like, that's where you have to be if you're Pittsburgh.
For sure. Well, and I think that's why the least harmful risk in that whole equation is Will Howard, because you're just paying him the least amount of money. So if you're going to fail, it's only going to cost you $600,000, right? Like, it's not like some large amount. It's not $35 million in a season. It's not,
Yeah.
oh, we have to make sure we pay out this guaranteed money. Like, Miami's in that situation where they're they're a team that is consistently linked to Malik Willis and make a ton of sense with Jeff Hafley going from Green Bay to the Miami Dolphins. How serious of a contender can they be when they still are owing millions, hundreds of millions to Tua Tagovailoa? Like, it does not make a ton of sense, and the Steelers cannot be in a situation or desperate enough that they make a mistake that puts them in that situation and position moving forward. So if you can do it smartly, cheaply, yeah, of course you need the quarterback depth, but otherwise you're digging a deeper hole for this organization to get out of.
Agreed. Very, very much so agreed. Shout out to Malik Willis. Wherever he ends up, I'm sure if it's not the Jets, he'll be just fine. And I am rooting for the guy. He did seem like a nice, good character. Let's talk about guys that the Steelers could bring in here. We'll start with the one that is not on the Pittsburgh Steelers, then pivot to the one who may be coming to the Pittsburgh Steelers or leaving the Pittsburgh Steelers. Landon Roberts is a name that a lot of fans will know, and I am going to sneeze here in just about a second. Thank you.
Soul left his body.
Right there, real quick. Landon Roberts is a name that a lot of Steelers fans will remember. Spent this past season in Las Vegas. The Pittsburgh Steelers went in a different direction. They signed, they brought back Cole Holcomb. They signed Malik Harrison. They drafted Carson Bruner, none of which worked out. Now it's time to rethink things at the inside linebacker position. Christian Kuntz, of all people, was saying that he would welcome Landon Roberts back, that he was a great teammate. The Steelers loved Landon. And by the time he was done, I think I could firmly say that Landon, in my eyes, was, I mean, anything less than the word warrior really does not do him justice, because this dude was playing 3 snaps a series or 3 downs a series on one leg. Could bear, like, if you saw him in the locker room by the time it was all over, he literally couldn't move. I've never felt so bad for somebody. Ben would do things like say, "Oh, I can't even tie my shoes." Like, yeah, I get it. Landon would literally like crawl out of a locker room. It was crazy. Would come back, play, no questions asked. He's now over 30 years old, coming off a year in Vegas and an injury. Would you consider Landon Roberts? And do you think it's likely that the Steelers would consider Landon Roberts? I think that's where we start.
You know, the new coaching staff, which has been finalized, right? So that's, big celebration needs to happen to rein that in. With a new coaching staff, I don't know how likely it was. If Mike Tomlin and company were still in charge, you look at it and go, of course, he could just really step in here and fill in that Cole Holcomb role from this past season, or the Malik Harrison role, maybe on a cheaper contract or with less term to it. With Mike McCarthy and company now being the staff in charge, I'm not sure how familiar they are with him, but there at least is one familiar face in Scott McCurley, who was retained as the inside linebackers coach. So there's
also Patrick Graham, who was his defensive coordinator in Vegas.
Graham, there we go, baby. And so you look at that and you go, okay, I don't think he is the fix, right? We talk about how could they ideally, and satisfactorily address the inside linebacker position. I don't know if Landon Roberts solves all of their issues, but he would be a huge upgrade to their depth, and they have got to have some downhill thumpers, and they have just really lacked that since Landon Roberts left. So I think they should consider it, and I would hope that these coaches who are familiar and have worked with him before would be, kind of pounding the table for him to return. So I think it is a real possibility. How likely is this coaching staff to get into it? I don't know, but I think it should be a possibility.
I agree. I think it definitely should. Landon kind of bleeds black. He is a Steeler. You could see it. As soon as he shut up, you're like, this guy, he's got something about him that just says Pittsburgh. And I think I respect it. To me, Landon is a great number 3 to have to bring to Pittsburgh for a number of reasons. A is Peyton Wilson, because you give a guy in Peyton Wilson who's got just a super cocky attitude. The dude is the smallest linebacker on the field, acts like the biggest linebacker on the field at all times, at least talks like it, tries to play like it. Doesn't always work out, but he certainly tries. Landon is the biggest attitude on a field, but he'll also hit you like he's the biggest guy on the field, always. To have that mentorship for a Peyton Wilson, I think would be perfect for what the Steelers are trying to get out of Peyton Wilson, develop a leader in Peyton Wilson. I think it's, if you're going to keep Patrick Queen, a great number 3 who should be a starter, but could be a number 3, you get to make the decision to move on from a Malik Harrison, which I think is the right move for the Steelers. And I think fills that third really, really well. If they were to move on from Patrick Queen, if they were to get a Landon Roberts, where do you go from there? Because I think that's the big question, is if you move on from PQ, is PQ Peyton and a Landon enough? And if they moved on from PQ, what direction do you go to fill that third? Do you go in the draft? Do you feel comfortable in the draft?
I mean, I don't know if I feel comfortable. They did try this trio not too long ago in 2024, right? So now roles have changed, and age, is certainly a factor when it comes to Landon Roberts' effectiveness. But he was a 17 game participant last year, if I am not mistaken. So, you would have to assume that they would be going through the draft to fill out that other spot, because I would, if they brought in a Landon Roberts, got rid of Patrick Queen, still had Peyton Wilson, I don't see them also going out and spending huge money on like a Quay Walker or something like that, to also add some middle linebacker depth. I would anticipate them to maybe go a little bit higher in the draft after a middle linebacker. There's, we talked there's a couple of first or second round talents that we've discussed briefly here. There's a couple of guys that are maybe going to be available late round 2, round 3. So I would assume that is where that third linebacker would come from.
I would assume as well. I'm not totally sold that's the move I want them to take. If you keep PQ, nothing's going to happen, in my opinion. If you don't keep PQ, because linebackers are just guys you draft, you know what I mean? Like, you draft and play. That seems to be what usually happens. You get rid of PQ and you bring in another rookie. I think 2 things. I think 1, you run the risk that a Landon Roberts now has to be like a 3 down back when he maybe can't be. And 2, you run the risk that Peyton Wilson has to be your number 1 linebacker and isn't ready to be. And to me, that's a mistake. Again, I don't know if you'd go get a Quay Walker or a Nakobe Dean or any of the above. I don't know if you'd spend that money. I don't know if you'd be willing to spend that money. If you are, in my head, I think Quay Walker, Peyton Wilson, and Landon Roberts is like, I don't know, things linebacker coaches dream of sometimes and would fit so well. But what's the price tag there? Do you think you'd get a Quay Walker for what you'd save for PQ? You're saving $13 million.
I don't think you have to cut ties from PQ in order to, like, I think if you're going to go spend big money and you tell me it's at middle linebacker, I'm not that upset. Yes, the last big free agent was Patrick Queen, and wasn't the most successful of free agent signings, but one good year, one not great year. It's not the worst free agent signing either. So they need help with it. I would certainly go out and offer someone a Nakobe Dean, a Quay Walker. I would give up a significant amount of money to bring him in. Maybe you still keep Patrick Queen, because let's be honest, like Peyton Wilson, the thought of him stepping into the number 1 role right now seems scary. There were just too many holes in his game, too many deficiencies, not enough tackling, not enough run stuffing, not enough pass coverage, the hallmark of his game. He was supposed to be the best pass coverage linebacker in football. Agreed. The numbers did not agree with that at all. So they need more depth, and I think there's a situation where PQ, an additional middle linebacker, are on the field, and maybe not Peyton Wilson as much, despite him being the one with the most upside right now. I think there's questions. I think Peyton Wilson's performance for a majority of the season while PQ took the brunt of the criticism,
Yeah.
the middle linebacking group was real bad.
Oh,
I don't
all
think anyone
around it
should
was bad. All
all
around. They're
around was bad.
terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Huh. It'd be interesting. It'd be very interesting to see the Steelers turn away, because essentially what you do there is tell Peyton Wilson that you are not the future. Like that's the end of Peyton Wilson in Pittsburgh long term. He's there for his rookie year once you sign somebody else and start PQ and somebody else over him, because you just can't. This is the NFL. These guys are going to take it personally. And I don't think I'd be opposed to it. Quay Walker's market value is $8.5 million a year.
He's gonna get more than that. But
yeah, but he's not going to get ridiculous more than that. Like he's not going to get. He might get 13 to 15.
Yeah, I was gonna say like 3. What 3? I was gonna say 3 by 39.
Yeah.
Like that
Yeah.
sounds like what he'll get. And if that's what the Steelers gave him, again, I am great with that. Even if
Me
you
too.
still have Patrick Queen, because if you tell me that your trio are those two players plus Peyton Wilson, I don't really care which one gets pushed off the field, right? Like you just have better options.
I agree. PQ's making double that. That's just wild to me. That's so wild to me. All right, let's talk about another linebacker. You made this pitch the other day on SI.com that the Pittsburgh Steelers have a very ideal trade partner for none other than Alex Highsmith, who's been the talk of the town as a possible trade name for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Highsmith to the Carolina Panthers. The 29-year-old leaves with 2 years left on his deal, goes to a team where you described as like a third and or a group of picks in the mid round. You're not getting too crazy much for him, but you are getting a team that, a little bit higher of a draft pick than what you currently have, so on and so forth. Kind of give us a rundown of what your thoughts are there. Alex Highsmith to the Panthers, which I wouldn't be against. I personally am going to start the campaign pitch, and this might come back to bite me right in the behind, that the Steelers might be nuts to trade Alex Highsmith over TJ Watt. But I think that's another conversation, different conversation, because just maybe it's time to go logistics, and the logistics say a certain thing instead of another thing. That's not the point. Alex Highsmith to the Carolina Panthers. What was your thoughts behind it?
Well, the starting point, the jumping off point, the catalyst is the fact that he is probably the easiest contract to move for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and there's lots of questions surrounding the outside linebacker group, the edge rushing position, and who's going to occupy certain spots. So, thinking about crazy offseason deals, where would just a nice, I respect the hell out of Alex Highsmith, and I know the Pittsburgh Steelers do too.
Yeah.
Where would be a great place for Alex Highsmith to go? And then I thought to myself, oh my gosh, where did he play his college football? Charlotte.
True.
And where they played their home games at the same stadium that the Carolina Panthers played, and he grows up, I believe, like an hour or so from the city. So I'm thinking, can we get a homecoming for my man Alex Highsmith? That was part of it. I'm also looking at who needs help along the pass rush, and the Carolina Panthers, boy, oh boy, do they need it. Their secondary was incredible. That was the only reason they won the NFC South.
Yeah.
But they were so ineffective at getting to the quarterback, so bad at creating pressure. Alex Highsmith is a guy who can do both of those things very effectively. And if you need to get rid of $17 million, which was the main sort of reason for this exercise,
yeah,
Alex Highsmith stands out as a pretty good candidate. Now, the return, like you hinted at, is not going to be what people want, right? Like, this is not a situation where they package that in their 21st pick and they move into the top 10. This is not a situation where you get an extra first round pick to go get that player that we are dreaming and salivating for the Steelers to draft. This is a situation where you get like a third round pick, or you get like a third and a fourth, or you maybe get like a fourth and a fifth. It's one of those trades where the value would not line up. And I understand that. And I don't say that just to rile people up, but it's just the reality. If they're going to move on from him because they have to, they will not get the acceptable deal that we all want. But I think it could be an okay pill to swallow if you say we send him to the Carolina Panthers, because at least it's a homecoming. for our Walter Payton Man of the Year candidate. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no. I agree. I think that at some point you just have to make business decisions, and Alex Highsmith is a rather easy business decision. And to do good by him, I'd feel good about that too. I like the move. Okay. My only problem with any of this is to go back to the TJ situation. Like, how do you justify giving up Alex Highsmith for a third round pick? And I get it. This is the NFL, and I get it. Players are great, and TJ Watt should be a one helmet guy. He should be. Are you willing? Let me ask this. Maybe, this is the question I should ask, because maybe I feel wrong about this. Maybe my thoughts are the wrong thoughts. Is it the end of the day, point blank period, you just can't trade TJ Watt, and even the lack of success is worth it? Is that what it just comes down to? Is like, even if TJ Watt is a detriment to the team comparatively, is it worth, you just keep him because you have to?
Yes. The answer to that question, I do believe, is yes. I think despite the poor 2025 season, despite the bloated contract at this point, the Steelers are tethered to TJ Watt. I don't think there is any way that you get out of that. That
No,
being
but
said,
should they? Should they?
no.
I think it's possible to get out of it. Somebody's going to trade for him. This is the NFL. Anybody's tradable for any. I watched Allen Robinson get traded for a 7th round pick, and the Rams took 90% of his. Everyone is tradable. Everyone could get traded.
See, the should they trade him is no, which is the same answer for Alex Highsmith, in my opinion, because there are a lot of assumptions being made that TJ Watt is just done, and he might be. Age might have caught up with him. Father Time might have won. We talk about that all the time in terms of abilities. It's not like you can win out in that situation in the long term, but
nope.
I mean, he went through a very traumatic injury in the second half of the season. The entire team was bad.
Yeah.
Am I willing to say that while he still faced the same exact number of double teams, of chip blocks, am I willing to say he's completely done as a player? No. That's why I don't think they should trade him. I think there's a situation in a scenario where a new coach, some new teammates, a new situation really rejuvenates TJ Watt for another season, and then we're not having the same conversation. For right now, it's a very valid conversation. Because the value's not there. Alex Highsmith is a better value at $17 million compared to TJ's 41. Nick Herbig on his rookie deal, Jack Sawyer on his rookie deal, also better values than the $41 million you're paying per season to TJ Watt. I think there's a very, maybe I'm too high of a believer in the possibility that he could have a resurgent year in 2026.
I think he could. Okay, I don't want to rule that out. And I'm not going to sit here and say TJ stinks and he's washed. I'm just saying at the end of the day, the NFL is a business, and you do ignore the business side of things for certain people. You do in certain circumstances. That's part of this whole situation. But I just have the business side of it, the stone cold side of it is it. If you removed emotions from it, TJ Watt's one of the worst contracts in the NFL right now. Like, if you just looked at it as straight facts, that's what it is. TJ Watt's contract's atrocious, because I get it, went through a lung surgery, was not good before that lung surgery. Never once had maybe 2 moments throughout the season where you said, there's TJ Watt, maybe 3, because he started in week 1 looking great, and then it was over. And then it was like week 5. And it's like, all right, there it is again. And then it was like week 10. And you're like, all right, there's a third time. There it is. And it just wasn't there. If he bounces back, this conversation's stupid and I look like an idiot. And I think that's really possible. But I think you're doing such a disservice to trade Alex Highsmith and to keep TJ Watt and say that is the right move. I think even talent-wise, to say we are trying to win a Super Bowl, we're getting rid of our best outside linebacker for our second best outside linebacker. It just doesn't, And I agree with you. I think that the answer is no. That's just where I get tied up into it. Is like, if you look at it like just a CEO of a business, TJ's gone. If you look at it from a loyalty side of things, it's the bad move, you know? And I just think that's so difficult, dude. And then what do you do when Max Crosby shows up? You know what I mean? Like,
How do you balance this all?
how do you
juggle
balance that? Because Max Crosby's going to end up in Pittsburgh. And then what do you do? You know, how do you go from there? How do you go from there? Clint Kubiak's like, oh, I had a coffee with him this morning. Yeah, in the cafeteria, bro. All right, cool. You guys are buddy pals. Bring him to Pittsburgh. Bring him to Pittsburgh. It's going to happen.
It's a team game, guys. All right, Clint.
Yeah, Clint, have fun with this guy.
Have fun with the bad
Highsmith.
one.
Yeah, you have a good time. You have a good time. You have a good time. All right, that's everything on our agenda. We're going to take a quick break. On the other side of it, we're going to start answering your questions. Toss them in the chat. We'll be back in 30 seconds.
Pittsburgh, this one's for you. From the voices behind all Steelers talk comes Black and Gold apparel, your go-to for bold, fan-driven merch that reps the city, the Steelers, and everything in between. Whether you bleed black and gold or just love that Pittsburgh grit, we've got something for you. It's more than a podcast. It's a community. And thanks to your support, we're proud to bring the passion from our mics to your closets. Gear up, stand out, and show the world what real fans look like. Shop now at blackandgoldapparel.myshopify.com.
All righty. Shout out to our members. Shout out to our super chatters. If you got questions, toss them in the chat. We'll get to as many of them as we can before we head out of here. We're going to get things kicking with Shockey. Besides wide receiver, what is the one position you would like to see the Steelers double dip in the NFL draft? Oh, good question.
Ooh.
Good question.
Cornerback.
You'd go 2 corners?
Yeah, hell yeah. I would take one in round 2. I'd take one in round 3. I'd take 2 in round 2. You know what I mean?
Oh.
They need secondary. Ask the Seattle Seahawks, and yes, their defensive line did create unbelievable pressure, but ask the Seattle Seahawks how quickly a secondary can turn around a team.
Yeah. It's true. It's a lot of corners. I agree with you, though. It's tough because I want to lump secondary into it. I want to lump offensive line into it because I think you could just draft 2 of those guys. I think corner is the easy answer here. It might be the only answer. You're not double dipping at safety.
Would you prefer O-line?
If you could lump offensive tackle and guard together, yeah. If you could just go offensive lineman, yeah, I would definitely go offensive line. Just because you need 2 starters immediately, right off the bat, you know? So holes. And I personally think the Steelers are going to add somebody to their corner room in free agency. You know, plus they have this guy, Jalen Ramsey, that like we all are talking as if he's gone and he's not. Like I think every time I have a conversation, it kind of like leaves my head that Jalen Ramsey is still very much so on the roster and likely staying on the roster. And
that's the part I forget.
Yeah, right. You're just like, that guy, I forgot about him.
He is going to likely return. It's
yeah.
like at the end of a Captain America movie. It's like Captain America will return for 2026.
It will be back. He will be back. Artisanal Bully Kennel. There is no mileage cap on loaners. Even rental agreements have a limit of miles. As long as that's the type of rental agreements you signed, you good. Oh, I was good. I was so good. Look at guys. I'm a cheap bastard. Okay. At the end of the day, I really am. It's what I am. It will always be what I am. I have a million coffee stamp things because I just go to coffee shops and then I just rack up the free coffees and then I get the coffee, blah, 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 blah. Okay. I've eaten the same So Fresh bowl for 3 months now for lunch because it's buy one, get one. And I buy one every other day for lunch. Okay. Let's track it back.
Is that for real?
That's a real thing. Yes. The chicken teriyaki bowl from So Fresh. I get it every single day and it's 2 for $20 and I spend $20 every other day, which I get it is a lot, but people spend money on food. You know what I mean? And I'm not cooking. I was telling Jacob, I was hoping that we had that car to go to Indy. Because I would have taken that bad boy to Indy. No doubt about it. Shout out to a President Bully Kennel. Appreciate you. LKZ, I believe Ramsey will have a nice season next year at free safety and a better defensive game plan. I also want Lemon and trade Pat for Sadiq. Did I say that right?
Yeah, I think
Sadiq.
Sadiq is how you say that. Yeah,
Definitely not Sadiq.
definitely
Beast.
not that. No.
Beast of Oregon. I mean, I know who he is. I like Pat Fryermuth. I really like Pat Fryermuth. Really like Pat Fryermuth. As for Jalen Ramsey, do you think he's going to play safety this year? I'm assuming he's going to play corner.
Oh God, I'm assuming he's going to be their slot cornerback.
Yeah,
He'll be their
that's what I'm
nickel guy.
assuming too.
He cannot be their second outside cornerback. Oh, yeah. So I mean, while I guess I would be okay with free safety for sure. Like, and seeing what he can do with Deshaun Elliott alongside him as well, a very, very elite safety playing beside him, like that might make for some better results than him and Kyle Duggar or him and Chuck Clark. That
Oh,
would be my guess. But I listen. I think Kenyon Sadiq is going to be a
Kenyon
freak in
Sadiq.
the NFL. But I thank you. I don't think the Steelers need to get younger at that position. Darnell Washington is still like he seems like he is older than time because he cannot be brought down, but he is only what 24, 25,
25, I think.
and Pat's 27. So like
No, Pat's 26, I think.
Pat's 11 years old, he said.
He's young. I think Pat Fryermuth is only 26. No, he's 27. You're right. You're right. You're right.
Yeah.
You're right. Yeah.
But still, I don't think they need to that's not the position, in my opinion, that you need to target to get younger. I'm all for having your best guys on the field, right? Like get Fryermuth and Washington on the field, utilize those two tight ends. And then I don't know. Let's see what Jalen Ramsey can do, because as I keep forgetting, he's probably going to be back.
He is probably going to be back. I agree with the tight end situation. Like, and here's the other thing is Johnny Smith is still on this roster too. Now that will likely change. That one's probably going to change. That one I would imagine is going to change. Pat Fryermuth is not going to. Darnell Washington is not going to. And I just think that's I would keep those guys and give them. I want to see what they can do. I think we're sleeping on them. I think the Steelers are sleeping on them. And I would just love to see what those two can do if you do it correctly. Rats, Deshaun coming back and Ramsey would be the greatest duo. Okay, so I'm a critic of Deshaun from last year playing safety. I just don't think that he played that well at the end of the season, and it makes me nervous. Now, maybe it could be scheme, but it kind of felt like, I don't want to say an effort thing, but it just kind of felt like Jalen wasn't a safety and didn't naturally fit it at safety. And let me ask this question. Do you think he'd even say okay to safety? You know, do you think Jalen would be like, yeah, I'm willing to, because last year he was fighting against it. He didn't want to play safety. Got forced into it. Do you think he would just accept that role?
I mean, I do certainly believe that Jalen Ramsey is willing to accept whatever role he's given, right? Like I otherwise, yes, he was not too pleased with it. Like he made several comments, each week about how sort of difficult the transition was to safety, how much different the responsibilities are, and how he hadn't played it since his college days. Like those were all things he said throughout the year. So he clearly wasn't the biggest fan, as you mentioned, but he still went out there and did it. What was clear is he was not a center fielder type safety, right? Like he would lose the guy behind him often. And that is totally fair for a guy who's a cornerback, right? Like he's not,
agreed.
Unless you're playing certain zone coverages, like it's a learned thing. And we saw that it took him time and will take him more time to learn and acclimate to the safety position, if that's where they want to keep him. I do believe he will accept any role he's given. I think he's, a fine soldier as far as that's concerned, and a good teammate as far as that's concerned, but he doesn't want to do it. I think that's pretty obvious as well.
I agree. And you're going to have to play center field. Like Deshaun's not playing that. Deshaun's not coming back. And his role, it was never that. And he doesn't play that position. You got to be good at, which is the most boring position in football, I think, is to go
really good at it.
Unless you're really good at it. But I don't think that's what Jalen wants to do. I don't know. We'll see. Is Duff back in 2010? I don't understand why everyone thinks PQ needs to go and that he's bad. I don't think PQ is bad. I just don't think he finished the season really strong last year. And I think you're paying him a lot of money. You're paying him $17.1 million. $17.1 million bucks. He tweeted this. He actually changed his header today. I'll get your opinion on this one. He changed his header to a quote. It was him in a Steelers jersey. Now it's a quote that says, quote, humble enough to know I'm replaceable, but wise enough to know ain't nobody like me.
Oh, well, that's true. That's very true. That's very true.
Did you take that as he's leaving?
And no, I take that, I guess, like the Cam Hayward book closing thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
that's
yeah.
just
Yeah.
this. I think we have to just let him say his feelings. You know what I mean? Like you're like, that's fine. Yeah, absolutely,
yeah.
bud.
PQ spends a lot of time on Twitter.
Yeah.
A lot of time on Twitter.
It's also just good for all of us to remember, right? Like let's not think so highly of ourselves that there's nobody else who can do what we do, but let's not let that degrade and devalue how we view ourselves. Let's be our own number one fans. Okay?
Own number one fans. Yeah, for sure. For sure. What was your thoughts on PQ? If he's bad. I think he's just not worth the money.
He's like many Steelers right now in that he is, overpaid via versus the production he has produced. But I mean, I wrote for on SI, I think it was week 4 or 5 that he was their defensive MVP early in this season. Yep. Like I was a big fan of the things he did, but there was just something that happened. I don't know if he was playing through a lot of injuries or what it was, maybe schematic failures, not sure what to chalk it up to. The ability to make certain tackles kind of went away. He missed a lot of opportunities to take down the quarterback when they were choosing to rush him. His pass coverage was not ideal. So there was just, some flaws, but I mean, who was not guilty of those on the defensive side of the ball in Pittsburgh?
I very much so.
So I concede that. Not bad, just underwhelming at times.
Yes. Yeah. It's a good way to put it. Rats. We got rid of Minka. We can get rid of TJ Watt. I honestly I don't put these two in the same category. And that's I put TJ and Cam in the same group. And the hard part is that Cam is worth his contract. Cam is cheap, like you're getting second team all pro play out of Cam Hayward. You're getting 7.5 sacks out of TJ Watt. That's not what you're looking for. It's not what you're looking for. I don't think that they would ever get rid of TJ Watt. I think that would be crazy. I could see maybe next year if he has another bad year, you're having that conversation.
But in a trade sort of scenario, or do you
in any sort of scenario?
I can see them cutting ties with TJ Watt. Yeah. I will certainly agree with that. But you're telling me that this organization, who basically hired a head coach just off of vibes, is going to look at TJ Watt, a guy that they literally anchored their boat to, and they're going to be like, you know what? Yeah, we're just going to trade him. He's gone. I think there is no way he'll get a Viking funeral of sorts where they'll just kind of send him on his way peacefully. He doesn't want to play anymore. Not the Steelers made him quit. You know what I mean? They'll do it in the most respectable way ever. There will not be an unceremonious trading of TJ Watt for a draft pick unless we get some like AB level type craziness.
Do you want to know his cap hits, his dead hits over the next 2 years? It's bad, man.
Yeah. I want to throw up. Sure,
it's bad. This year is $94 million if you cut TJ Watt. Next year is $52 million if you cut TJ Watt. TJ Watt ain't going nowhere anytime soon. Year after that's $10 million. So 2028.
Oh,
that's
yeah,
when,
he'll retire
the doors
for
open.
sure. Yep.
Yeah, 32 years old. Yeah, that'll be it. Chris, guys, I love Watt, but football is a business. Loyalty is admirable, but the sound business decision is to get what you can in a trade and move on. I agree. This is where I stand. I think business-wise, that is the way to go about it. The Steelers, certain organizations have certain outlooks on certain things, and the Steelers have loyalty to select players. Here's where it gets really interesting, okay? Mike Tomlin was around for forced retirements for names like Troy Polamalu, Hines Ward, Ben Roethlisberger, James Harrison. Is is Mike McCarthy like, is that the next one? Because I bet you there was a time where Noah and Jacob in some other universe were sitting around talking about they'd never get rid of Troy. They would never get rid of Troy. Why would you do that? Like, I don't know. Is it different from this? Like, is TJ different? I just don't know. I don't think we've experienced this. You know what I mean? I think Ben was so close to the end, and it was so like, this just made sense. You know, it lined up. Cam next year, that it just makes sense. It lines up. The contract's over. You're not going to extend the contract. Cam's done. Ben, same thing. TJ is a different situation than what we have seen, you know? So I don't think we have experienced the Steelers forcing a retirement yet or dealing with something like this. But let's be really honest. Like, they've done this a million times throughout their history. A million. Rod Woodson won a Super Bowl in Baltimore. Okay. He should have never left Pittsburgh except for the fact that they moved on from him. They just said, yeah, we're good. You know, like they do have a history of doing this. I'm super curious, and I don't think we have an answer, but I'm very curious to see if TJ ends up being different, you know, if it's a different situation.
Well, and here's the biggest difference between him and not, Rod Woodson, but some of these the early 2000s Steelers who were forced out, maybe retired before they wanted to under Mike Tomlin, is that TJ hasn't won a Super Bowl. You know what I mean? So like there was the conversations probably ended in, what year did what was Troy's last year? Like whenever the season before
13,
like
was it the year after the Super Bowl? I think it was maybe 2 years, 2013, 2014,
something like that. You're sitting there going, as you're having this conversation of like, yeah, it's probably time for them to move on, but Troy's Troy. He's a Hall of Famer. He won a Super Bowl. You know what I mean? Like, he won Super Bowls. So like, what do you look at TJ Watt and you're like, does he get that same treatment where it's like, that's TJ Watt. He's the generational player. No disputing that, regardless of championships. But is that enough to have the unflappable loyalty of an organization, because yes, Chris's point is correct. The best business decision, I would argue, was to have traded him last year instead of extending him, because that's when you could have gotten the haul for him. That's when you could have gotten, an intriguing market and build up sort of that whole thing. That time has passed. There is no smart business decision to make anymore. They either lose money, screw over their salary cap situation, or deal with a player who is most likely declining in skills as he ages.
Yes.
There ain't no smart business decisions left.
No, no, it's a great way to put it. Artisanal Bully Kennel. Smaller Wilson is 6'4", 242 pounds. It's 4 inches, 10 pounds different from Patrick Queen. I drop PQ Wilson to Mike, draft a run stuffer, and bring in a veteran OT. I don't. Okay, so to the linebacker talk, I don't think that PQ is like this big bad linebacker, and I think Peyton Wilson could be an every down linebacker. I think Peyton Wilson is not good in the run game right now and needs work there, and to me, that's I'm not trying to defend keeping PQ. Let's not. I don't know. I don't want that to be skewed anywhere. I think that the decision for the Steelers should be go save $13 million, sign and cut Malik Harrison, use $20 million and sign 2 outside linebackers or inside linebackers, or sign an inside linebacker and draft an inside line, or whatever you do. But I think the best decision is to move on because you save the money. My thing is, while I don't think PQ was like that great last year, I don't think Peyton Wilson was that great either. I have a much higher upside. I see much higher upside with Peyton Wilson than I do long-term with PQ, just because PQ's 26 years old, Peyton Wilson's a third-year linebacker. Like, things are that third year, think about it. What if he has a Joey Porter Jr. type jump? Awesome. You know what I mean? PQ's not going to have that jump in year 7. That's not going to happen. PQ's there. We've seen PQ. And I think that's the difference in them. I don't think either of them are 3-down linebackers. I mean, I think both of them could be starters in the NFL. I think PQ's a starter on almost every team. I don't think either of them are like the best 3-down linebacker you could have in Pittsburgh.
Correct. That is, I think that's very true. I guess there's just differing opinions on um how deep this middle linebacking group is and where, you know what I mean? Like I think there's a lot of growth for Peyton Wilson, but
Yeah.
I'm not sure he reaches it. I think you know what you get in Patrick Queen. Sure, it's nothing spectacular, but it's tackles for the most part when he's healthy.
Yes.
So like,
Yes.
yeah, I don't know. I think the best path forward, regardless, and this is like I guess my summary statement is I think I want them to spend big on a middle linebacker and kind of put
Me
this to
too.
rest.
Me too. Like you have options to do it, go do it. It works out for other teams, you know. Zach Bond did not start in Philadelphia. He just won Super Bowls there. You know, that tends to happen. Ernest Jones. He got traded twice last year. And now he's making plays in the Super Bowl for the Seahawks. I agree. Poke salad. TJ eats doubles and Alex is easier to move. Can we trade Alex for Jay Coker from Carolina? He almost beat the Rams in the wild card with 160 yards. Oh, the wide receiver.
Yeah, well, you think he was trying to get you?
I thought it was no. I thought it was like a draft. Like I was just like reading it without.
Oh, you thought he was
context.
in the draft this year?
Yeah, I didn't know where he was coming from. Like from Carolina, I was like, oh yeah, the Carolinas. Yeah, one of the schools, one of those guys. I mean, I think the value would be there. I don't know if he did have a great game against the Rams, but I don't know anything about Carolina football outside of that Rams game. You know, I didn't sit there and watch him all season. To me, I was like, look at this guy going off. I have no idea who he is. Let's make parlays with him. And that's all I knew, you know?
Yeah, I mean, you're if you were to acquire Jalen Coker, you're assuming that the upside is coming. 478 yards as a rookie, 394 yards last year, 11 games played in back-to-back seasons, 2 touchdowns and 3 touchdowns. But I mean, listed as 6'3", 215, so good length, good big boy. Yeah, I mean, if you tell me that it's Jalen Coker and a 5th-round draft pick for Alex Highsmith, I'm like, oh, okay, they at least addressed some other position of need along the way.
That's where I feel too. That's a good way to put it. Is if you want to toss something else in there, all right, cool. Straight up, I don't know. I do agree with the TJ eats double teams. My thing is that you can't pay somebody $40 million to just lose double teams. You know, like that you can't. That can't be you have to figure it out.
If everything else works, right? Like if TJ eats double teams and then that means that the Steelers run defense is like the most stout run defense in the league, great. But he eats double teams and then they give up explosive plays at a rate that is just like ridiculous. So if Patrick Graham can scheme against that, wonderful, because he is a feared player. He will still be the focal point for opposing offenses to game plan around, but you have to, then you have to capitalize on it somewhere. It's either via him or if everyone else is clicking and picking up sacks and turnovers and takeaways, then that $41 million feels a lot more digestible.
Yeah. When you're winning, you don't care where the money's going. You know, when you stink, that's when you start looking at guys and going, you're making way too much here for this defense to be this bad. Ryville, potential teams that could trade for TJ Watt, Dallas Cowboys, Green Bay Packers. Could you imagine TJ and Micah in the same team? That would be after all the years of Micah just talking smack on TJ Watt. It's just like, we're not boys. We're just cool. We're cool. Washington Commanders, Buffalo Bills, and Philadelphia Eagles. According to multiple Ryville's got sources, dude. Sources out here. According to multiple sources. The Dallas Cowboys, I don't think the Packers would call. I haven't heard of teams interested in TJ yet. I'm sure that I will. The Cowboys make the most sense to me because A, they make really dumb trades, and B, they clearly need an edge rusher because, they just and it would be so Dallas to say, we're not going to pay Micah, but we'll pay TJ. That sounds good. And we'll give up a 2nd-round pick. We'll trade TJ.
Man, that would be some Jerry Jones type shit for sure. Dallas, they need an edge rusher for sure, so they stand out amongst this group. Sure. But yeah, I think the Cowboys have been kind of poking their heads around. I feel like,
Yeah.
I feel like the Nick Herbig to Dallas
Oh,
rumor
that
has been
stinks.
picking up, or has gotten some traction at some point, let's call it. Um, I think they're probably it's clear that the Dallas Cowboys need help in their pass rush, so we'll see how they address it.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. That would be the name on this one. I think the Packers, Mike has got a history. Buffalo, but the Steelers would never give TJ to Buffalo. Um, the Washington Commanders, maybe, but I think you do right by TJ and ask him where he wants to go. And truly, I don't think you trade him. But I wouldn't be surprised if these teams call. Shout out to Rival with the sources, dude. Artisanal Bully Kennel disagree. Jacob is here to rile us up with picks. Oh man, what did you rile us up with today? Let's go through the list. Was it Malik Willis, Landon Roberts, and or Alex Highsmith?
I mean, I'm liable to rile folks up for anything, but I'm not liable legally.
True. It's true. It's true. Shout out to Jacob, man. Shout out to the boy. Remington, Highsmith for a second year, better for a second next year, better QB selection. Playing a little Madden here with a little future picks, a little left, a little right,
left, up, down. We got a little bit of the future. I mean, sure, if you can get a 2027 second for him, I think that would be a win of a trade for the Pittsburgh Steelers, because we all know that's the golden boy class. There's no way this will change at all. They are going to have 12 starting quarterbacks, and each one will be better than the last. So you might as well get a pick.
Yeah, I agree. Chris, Steelers make worse decisions than a drunk guy at 2 a.m. when you wake up next to Bigfoot and you feel itchy. You need to start taking accountability. Chris is out here. He knows, dude. Chris knows. Chris knows. Chris knows. Sometimes I think if you as crazy as this statement is, if you look at the big picture of the Steelers, if you just wrote it on a big piece of paper right now and said these are all the things that the Steelers are dealing with currently, you wouldn't disagree much. You'd be like, well, these guys stink. These guys are dumb. They make a lot of bad decisions. A lot of bad decisions.
They do make bad decisions.
I want to ask you who the Bigfoot is, but I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna do that to you. We're gonna move on. Shout out to Chris. I know who your answer would be. We're not gonna do it. We're not gonna do it.
Sasquatch.
The Sasquatch. The Simp 88. Don't forget, linebackers had safeties cheating all year to help the run, make the middle better, and it helps the secondary a ton. I think schematics was a big part of it. I mean, PQ called it out, didn't he? Didn't at some point this season, PQ said something about, I think it was, where he said something about how, the play calls were, nah, and you're like, oh, well, okay, then. Maybe that's the case.
It was pretty pedestrian. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think a lot of teams, I think, were very aware of the Steelers' game plan and how to beat it from the jump. You know what I mean? It was just that's why so many games went the same way, where you saw, decent first halves, teams chipping away. By the fourth quarter, they're giving up 3 scores, on the final 3 possessions. It happened 4 or 5 times,
Yes.
They were a team that you could, once you figured out how to beat them, it was just a matter of time, and they had no response. So I think your point is correct. This statement here from the Simp also plays into a factor. Play calling, schematics, they have to be upgraded just as much and just as importantly as the personnel on defense.
Yeah, which kind of stinks, because it's so difficult to say what should you take a risk on, what should you ignore. And there are certain positions that, like, you'd want to say, hey, maybe it's just play calling and schematics that PQ isn't good. But you also look at it and go, okay, and if that's your decision to make and you find out that that's not the truth and PQ just wasn't good, you just missed out on Quay Walker and Nakobe Dean, and you're going, that sucks. Like, that's really annoying, because you just missed these. And that's what is really terrible about some of these Steelers decisions this year, is like, TJ Watt, prime example. Does Patrick Graham come in here and TJ Watt's all over the place and he's a new type of linebacker and looks fantastic? Maybe, but we got to wait until this offseason's over when all the decisions get made. And then if it doesn't work out, you're just screwed, which is not, it's not ideal. It's a tough situation. ND Joe, Watt was the most chipped player in the NFL with stagnant coaching. Coaching has changed. I say at least give Watt the season to redeem himself and let him move around the secondary. It's more fluid now. So I agree with this. Okay. Here's my question. How much do you think of that was Tomlin and how much of that do you think was TJ? Because I have a hard time thinking that it was all Tomlin and no TJ saying, I'm not moving.
Yeah, I think maybe there was just a little bit too much comfort between the two where they just didn't want to push each other. Like maybe TJ didn't really have a desire to play around the line and Tomlin didn't really want to push him to do so, right? Like, and that was just the way the play calling and the alignment along the line of scrimmage played out over his tenure. Patrick Graham is, the one thing he certainly does do is give his defensive linemen and outside linebackers different looks and positions along the line of scrimmage. So you would anticipate that TJ Watt will see some movement in 2026, but I think overall it has to be, I think it was not just one, not just Tomlin, not just Watt. It was both of them in the same way that, like, the Rooney Tomlin sort of relationship seemed to like reach a level of comfort where there wasn't enough sort of pushing to improve anymore. Maybe that was a similar situation here with this dynamic.
I think very much so. How much does that change? How much does Patrick Graham come in here and say, I don't want to really mess with the guy who is a future Hall of Famer? We're going to find out a lot. They are going to give TJ the year, no doubt about it. But, and I don't want anybody to take that as like Noah hates TJ Watt. Noah doesn't think TJ Watt's good. That's not the case. It's just, it's an easy argument to make. And I feel like we have to address it because if we're ignoring it, it's weird, and you're kind of ignoring something that is the elephant in the room. Macaroni salad Punturi is the kid's name, male or female. I love it, dude. Little macaroni salad Punturi. I think what we should do is put it up for bid. Okay. Mm-hmm. New parents, obviously could use some diapers or something. I think we run a all Steelers talk auction where you get to bid on Jacob's child's name, his firstborn's full legal name outside of Punturi. And then again, we don't tell your wife because I don't want her to be mad at me. And at least not until the child's born, because then she's going to be busy. She'll forget that she's mad at me.
Yeah. No, take back.
Yeah. And I hide outside the delivery room. And when they come out, I sneak a fake birth certificate in there. And it says macaroni salad Punturi. And then I'm going to actually change the date because I think it'd be hilarious if someday, like 20 years from now, it's like, you're 106? You look like you're 15.
He came out 21 years old. This is some Benjamin Button type of stuff, and I don't like it. Yeah, I'm trying to think of like what my price would be.
Oh, at least $20. It's your firstborn.
That's so low.
I think if we held it on, I think the better question is, what do you think an auction would go for? What do you think the people of the internet? Okay. Because it wouldn't just be macaroni salad. It wouldn't just be the boys and the girls in the picnic pack. If people knew, you'd have people. Elon Musk would show up in bots to say this child will be named EX11Z to the 4th power. And they'll come in. Like, what's the final bid here? $1 million?
Well, if Elon Musk bids on it, I reject it. He can lick my butt.
His name would be not Elon Musk. Somehow he would just make $1 zillion offer. I think it would work.
I think we could get some buzz. We can get some interest on this. Again, I think the question is what's my price here? Because we got a really good name picked out. So you have to really convince me.
You know what they say? Cheese is convincing. Isaiah, am I crazy for thinking Harmon will be better than Hayward? His run defense is obviously there, and his pass rush has potential. Cam wasn't great till year 5. I don't know about overall. I think we're going to find out. I think in 2026, is it crazy to think that Derek Harmon could be the Steelers' best defensive lineman, including Cam Hayward? Hell yeah. Like, I think that's, yeah. Like, I think that Derek Harmon, you're spot on here, Isaiah. Like, the Derek Harmon trajectory is awesome. And it's so exciting to see just like a really good defensive tackle in Pittsburgh. It feels like it's been a long, long time, long time.
Yeah. He's a hell of a player.
Hell of a guy. For sure. Roger Steeler, trade Watt, trade Highsmith, sign Herbig, move Sawyer up, use the extra money to sign a top left tackle. I think the only issue with this one, okay, the glaring one, I think there are a couple issues, but the glaring one is who would be your third outside linebacker, because you need at least 3 outside linebackers in Pittsburgh. You cannot have 2. It's a bad idea. That's how you end up with Taco Charlton starting half the season. Yeah, see how you forgot that, but when it hit, it hurt. It wasn't fun. That's what happened.
First round pick?
Yes.
Of the Dallas Cowboys?
Of the Dallas Cowboys, Michigan stud Taco Charlton. You need another one. I think you could sign a top left tackle, but I think you can only give up 1 outside linebacker.
Yeah. I think they can sign a top left tackle. I think there's a world they sign a top left tackle and have the same outside linebacker group heading into 2026.
Yes. Rats. Will McCarthy will finally use the middle of the field? I think that is very much so true.
If Kyler can see it.
Zach Frazier is a short guy. Short guy.
He is. Yeah. He's all trunk. You know what I mean?
He is all trunk. He walks into a room and you're just like,
no neck, all legs.
No, you're just. How's it going? Because he's the nicest guy. You know what I mean? He's the nicest human being.
So nice. It's just he can kick my ass. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, it would murder a lot of people. He was a wrestler. Okay.
Badly I could beat you right now, and I'm just like shaking my head. Yes.
Yeah. The thing is, he'd never say that though. You could be like, Zach, you suck. I hate you, and he'd be like, I hope you're having a good day. Like, Zach, I freaking love you, Zach. Stop it. He is just the nicest guy. But yeah, I do think that the middle of the field is coming, especially if Rodgers comes back. A lot of seam routes, that type of stuff. I do think it's coming. TK, no Aaron Rodgers. Fields versus Howard, baby. Now we are talking. This is the conversation I have wanted forever. Just saying, Justin MVP Fields. There was a time where Noah Strackbein said the Steelers should trade a first-round pick for Justin Fields. And I sincerely regret saying that. But if it wasn't Troy Fautanu, I would have said do it. I would have said yes. Go. Actually, yeah, it was Troy. It was Troy. And that's on me. I messed up there. I was wrong. This year, little Justin Fields, little Howard. Yes. Yes.
The great battle of Ohio State quarterbacks.
Hell yeah, dude. Somewhere. Yeah. When CJ Stroud gets cut, they could sign him too. That would be awesome.
Yeah.
And I don't know where anybody else. JT Barrett, is he still around somewhere? He was in Pittsburgh for a day.
R.I.P. Dwayne Haskins. R.I.P.
Facts. Ryan, was hiring CJ Ayu from Texas Tech. We should get Jacob Rodriguez as a Tech fan and student, and watching him in person. Bro is a monster. I feel like I am gaining momentum on Jacob Rodriguez. Feel like you're gaining more momentum on a Jacob Rodriguez.
Yeah. I think he is. I mean, he's on my board right now as I'm staring past my camera. But yeah, I think he's a guy who my question about him is where does he go? Is he? Yeah. Some people think he's a second round pick. Are you going to be the team to take him? The Steelers need help at middle linebacker, and I think he does have starting potential. Maybe even could be an immediate starter. Might be worth it.
I agree with that. My upside on inside linebackers is going into the draft is usually they fall. Peyton Wilson was a first round pick, ended up being a third. It's that one position that everybody every year, every team's like, there are no good inside linebackers. What's going on? And then you just never draft one. And you're just like, okay, cool. Doesn't make any sense to me. But I agree. I do like the momentum gaining there. Jonathan, what is your ideal quarterback plan if you were GM? My ideal one is Will Howard versus
Justin Fields.
Mac Jones. Mac Jones.
I like that. Yeah. And that you have one more holdover year, right? In 2027, you are selecting that franchise quarterback. Ideally, it's Lenore Sellers. You know what I mean? And ideally, it's Arch Manning or something like that. And just not John Mateer. Maybe it's Dante Moore. Like one of those guys. Now we're talking.
Maybe a little Johnny M. You never know.
Little Johnny M.
Little Johnny M. Yeah, I think that's where I'd go. One more year, and maybe Mac Jones turns into Sam Darnold. I think we're getting a little bit. I think everybody's going to make that comparison all offseason, and then it's not going to happen. And I'm okay with that, but I'd give it a shot. Maddie, when do you think Rodgers gives them an answer? This is a good question. When do you think Rodgers gives the answer? The answer. I hope he does. We should invite him on the show. Pick a hat. Aaron, if you're watching, if you made it an hour and 11 minutes into the show for some reason, you welcome anytime.
Hey, when you get off your latest ayahuasca trip and you realize you're watching the show,
you want to do the ayahuasca trip on the show? You know what I'm saying?
We'll be your trip sitters.
Yes,
buddy.
And in
we
the middle,
a safe space for AR8.
Don't read the chat. But besides that, very safe space. Love you guys.
Don't watch our old videos where I talk.
Or me. I think that he gives them an answer March 9th. That is the legal tampering period. I think that's when he gives an answer.
Yep. I think that's a great window. Yeah. And I think March, first week of March is when he will give the Steelers their answer. We will, whether we find out immediately or not, we'll try our best.
Nate Moore, maybe Nate Moore. What about trading Highsmith, PQ, and pick 21 to trade up for a top 10 adjusted from yesterday's offer? Highsmith, PQ, and pick 21. Oh my gosh! Again, I think we're giving up. You're giving up so much. And okay, so I don't know if you saw it on Twitter today, but everybody was talking about Caleb Downs, and somebody was asking scouts their thoughts on Caleb Downs, and they were saying he's the greatest safety ever. And I get that, but I still think that you are running a risk here, a risk. I'm honestly I'm more open to this than multiple draft picks, but I think that you're giving up a lot.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I think for the Steelers, this accomplishes so much. You clear out $33 million. You're able to draft maybe a new key defensive piece. In this hypothetical, you still have your second round pick. You're still, able to make 5 picks in the first 100 to address some holes. It's a lot. It's a ton. I think really my reservation would come from the team acquiring this package from the Steelers, because why?
Yeah.
Why would you want this?
I know. I think that you'd have to get somebody who really needs defensive help and needs multiple, but the Chiefs are a bad team because they do well. You'd have to find that bottom 10 pick that is willing to make a bad move because they need multiple holes. That's what you're looking for.
Yeah. I hear you.
Yeah, I don't know. We'd see. Almost all-star. I've heard Mr. Rooney decided on Najee and Kenny Pickett. Who else has he picked? Does he do all of the first rounders? He does not. I also could tell you that Najee was not an Art Rooney pick, that was a Tomlin and Colbert and everybody else pick. They really like Najee Harris. Rooney did pick Kenny. I think that's pretty well known. I don't know, many others that are out there that Rooney made the call on. That's the one I've been around for. I could tell you that besides that, in my time covering the team, so the last 8 years, that's the only one I know of. Others, couldn't tell you. Couldn't tell you.
Good to
Pittsburgh
know.
Hornets. Who do you expect Patrick Graham to raise the bar for? Who does Graham improve the most? I'll toss my name out there. I have it. Keanu Benton. I think Keanu goes from a pretty decent starter to a really good starter in 2026. I think that's what Patrick Graham could do to him. He's a long-time defensive line coach. I love it.
Yeah. I think the defensive line is the position to look at, right? Like that's obviously where the standouts have been in Vegas. Like Noah just mentioned here, tons of positional coaching experience along the defensive line for Patrick Graham. Keanu Benton, Y.A. Black, I think could easily be the player who benefits the most and finds the most sort of growth quickly under Patrick Graham. So yeah, that whole front, the front three, front four is going to be the players to look at.
Yes, agreed. Two more to finish it off. Steele Decker, did you see Lamb talk about McCarthy? Was awesome. Talked about how McCarthy wants to stretch the field all the time. I did. Go check it out if you haven't. CD Lamb talking about Mike McCarthy in the offense. It will get you jazzed up a little bit. He does talk about how he loves to stretch the field. Can Aaron Rodgers throw it like that? We're going to find out. We're going to find out. And Pittsburgh Hornets with a great one. AST Darkness Retreat. We just come on here in the pitch black for 3 days and just talk to each other in the pitch black. I think it would be with Aaron Rodgers. Me, you, and Mr. Rodgers, right?
I'll bring the Wask.
I'll bring the poop bucket. You got to poop somewhere, right?
You got to have a bucket.
Gotta have a bucket,
dude. Bucket.
This is the bio bucket, just hanging out on the podcast. Be awesome. All right, y'all. With that said, we're heading out of here. Thank you so much for jumping on to another episode of All Steelers Talk. Make sure to subscribe to us on YouTube, youtube.com/All Steelers Talk. Check us out anywhere you get your podcasts. And as always, find all our work at si.com/NFL/Steelers. We'll be back tomorrow. Until then, enjoy another beautiful day in the Berg. Peace.